Well, we've said that grinders are fascinated with tactics and rock stars build culture. Well, I promise you, any great leader in our profession, they became a great leader because they really understood the nuances of how to build culture and what were the best areas to build that culture in. So to help you get to that same spot, I'm going to break this down and we're going to look at 10 specific areas that I believe are really critical to building culture. Because, and just to refresh your memory, what do we say culture is the way people behave when they don't have a specific rule or a guidebook or a textbook or a training manual. It's just the expectation of how people in that situation are going to respond to that situation because of the culture that has been set in that organization. So let's get into the list of the 10. The first one will be no surprise to you. It's setting the culture of character, integrity, accountability, meaning we do the right thing. So yes, character is one. Integrity is a spin-off of that. Accountability would be, hey, if you promise to do something, you do it. If you write a check, it's good. If you say you're going to be at a place, you're at a place. I remember I had a meeting up in New Brunswick. No, where is it? Somewhere in really eastern Canada, and it's one of those hard to get places. You just can't get there without 3 different flights. And I couldn't get on the first flight, and then I was trying connection, and finally I ended up having to rent a private jet. Cost me about 25 grand to fly up to this place in Canada because I knew there was going to be 600 people who expected me there that night to do a training. And this was a line below my pay range, right? In other words, it doesn't bring anything to my income, but they're still in my organization. But they were so far down and in a line that really made no difference at all to my income. But I spent $25,000 on the plane ticket to get there because I said I would be there. I wanted to do everything. If there was a way for me to be there, I was going to be there. That's accountability, right? So the other place, I mean, whether it's the way you dress, alcohol, smoking, I don't know. Are you in a wellness company? Then probably the culture. Well, you got to look at what's the culture of alcohol and drugs and smoking and whatever, based on what your company is. But there's a whole character area that you set culture. So think about what that would look like for your particular team. Number 2 would be professionalism. This is where the dress, the language, punctuality, honoring copyrights. I don't think we had the first course on this, so I don't think we need to spend any time on it. But just know that's an area we set culture. Third area would be rank advancement. And why I bring this up is because you really do create a culture about this. In other words, there's a first rank that people need to get to, and then there's always a first serious rank, right? So the first rank, whatever it is, you get a couple of people, or you've got 10 customers, or you've got 20 customers, or whatever it is, there's the first rank that people are supposed to get to in a certain period of time. You create a culture about that. Where the same thing, now there's like a serious rank. That's where you break away if you're in a breakaway program, or that's when you qualify for the car bonus, or that's when you're now considered on the leadership track, or whatever it is. You'll know what that is in your company. And if you're not sure, talk with your sponsorship line and they'll let you know. Well, you create a culture about that. So you say, well, in our team, you start it with the very first time you bring someone in the business and you're having the new member orientation or the fast started, get started training, whatever it would be. You just say, hey, what we like to do in this team is we like to get to this first rank within the first 48 hours. Or here's the deal with this rank, whatever this first serious one is. Hey, in our team, we like to get to this within 60 days. We don't like to, obviously there's people who take 3 years to get here, but in our team, we like to get here within 60 days. That's our culture. You set that culture. 4 won't surprise you. It's very important you set a product culture. So this can't be a culture of just, hey, everybody has to go on auto-ship. This can't be a culture of, hey, everybody has to buy at least X number of CV, PV, BV a month to qualify for the comp plan. No, product culture is based on usage and belief. That people really believe in whatever this product or service is, and they're using it, not to qualify for a check, but because they see the value of that. And you create that product or service passion about what it is. Number 5, I think is really critical that you create a self-development culture in the team. Because this is not something that happens a lot in today's world. I remember getting in network marketing and being exposed to self-development materials like seminars and audios and videos and Think and Grow Rich and the magic of thinking big, and I didn't even know they existed. You know, I come from a simple family. We were poor. I had a single mother who raised 3 kids by herself. I promise you, there was nobody. You could trace my family roots back to the Mayflower, whoever came over on the Mayflower, right? I promise you, nobody in that genealogy had ever gone to a self-development seminar. We didn't know they existed. We were just trying to survive. There was nobody who read self-development books. We didn't know. I didn't, and I was a reader. That was one of my saving graces as a kid, was I loved to read. But I was reading, espionage thrillers and Agatha Christie mysteries and things like that. Books like Think and Grow Rich, I didn't even know they existed. And when I got in this business and I got exposed to leaders, I wanted to be like them. So I hung around them and I wanted to know, how did they think? What did they do? What was important to them? And every time I got around leaders, I noticed they talked about books and audios and videos relentlessly. And they talked about, The Richest Man in Babylon. They talked about that book with reverence. How to Win Friends and Influence People. They talked about that book with passion, with feeling, so I realized that's important to them. If I want to be like them, I have to practice daily self-development. So the only other thing I would say on this is I think it needs to be daily and it needs to be structured. So you say, I do 30 minutes of self-development every day that ends in Y. Okay? And I do it before I answer the phone, before I leave the house, before I go out in the world. I set my intention. I raise my consciousness. I fix my attitude before I go out, so I will attract the right people and circumstances. Number 6 on our list of where we create culture is it's very important you create event culture. As you know by now, the business is really built event to event to event. And this is a culture you've got to create, because people have to know, okay, this is what we do. What we do is we build 2 events. We have our local opportunity meetings, we have our regional meetings, we have the annual company convention, we have the annual leadership retreat. We have all these different events, and this is how the business is done. The people who qualify for these events always attend these events. We're in the ticket selling business. We build in campaigns from one event to the next event to the next event. That's a culture you set. Number 7 on our list would be a culture of activity. And by this, here's how I would break it down. It's really important that you have what it would be the method of operation. In other words, there's a daily method of operation, there's a weekly method of operation, there's a monthly method of operation. So as an example, it might be that your daily method of operation is you talk to at least 2 people about your business. Or you add 2 people to your candidate, you meet 2 new people to go on your candidate list every day. Your weekly thing is every week we have an opportunity meeting on Tuesday night, and we always attend the opportunity meeting and we bring as many guests as we can to the opportunity meeting. That's our weekly method of operation. You have a monthly method of operation. Okay, every month in our city, we have a Super Saturday or a Super Sunday, and it's a concentrated we have an opportunity showcase, and we have a break, and we have a couple hours of training from the local leaders, whatever that is, but that happens every month. Then that's your monthly method of operation. Number 8 is, of course, no surprise to you, it's about creating a culture of leadership. And the way you do this is you reward initiative. I can't remember whose book, Tom Peters or Collins, one of the books, they were talking about the FedEx guy who, some snowstorm somewhere, there's a pickup box it's up on some mountain and all the roads are closed, and they rented a helicopter to go and pick up make sure that the pickup happened by 5 p.m. They took that initiative. I was recording a training album for my team, and we were about to start, and we realized in this venue that we're at, there's a place next door that repairs boat engines, right? And so they bring these engines out in the parking lot, and they rev them up, and the whole time we were setting up the room, they keep revving all these engines, and I'm thinking, well, there goes recording our training, because these guys are doing this all day, and you could hear it all in the meeting rooms. So I said something to that effect. I guess I was talking to the AV guys, and I said, well, one of my directors was like, no, are you about to start? And I said, yeah. He said, hold on. He opened the door. He walked out. He said something. He came back 10 seconds later, said, go ahead. I'm like, what? Well, he had seen that these guys were doing all this engine noise outside. Nobody asked him. His name is Dave Liddy, by the way. He just goes out and he talked to the guys and said, hey, we're going to be doing a training in here for like 3 hours or 2 hours or whatever it was, and we're going to be recording it, and we can't have that noise. So can I don't know, I can't remember if he bought him lunch or he wanted to here's the money, you all go to lunch during this time. But he just took that initiative without anybody thinking about it, with anybody asking him. Well, that's a culture you create. When you create a leadership culture, you do it by rewarding people who take initiative, not just people who blindly follow directions. Number 9 on the list would be you create a culture for investing in their business. And this is an investment, and stop apologizing for it, and stop begging people about it and feeling guilty about it. I mean, I come from the other world. I can tell you how much money I lost in the restaurant that I had seized by the tax authorities, and had taken my entire life savings and everything that I had put into it just to bootstrap up a little takeout and delivery only pizza place. I didn't even have a dining room and tables and chairs and china and silverware and all that kind of money. But still, I had a serious amount of money invested in this. And think about what it takes to open a sub shop or a hamburger joint or a muffler place or any traditional kind of business. It's hundreds of thousands of dollars sometimes. It's millions of dollars sometimes. It's hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars on lines of credit and personal guarantees. So stop apologizing for our business that's, for $1,000 or $1,500. People have the opportunity to build a business that's literally produced millions of dollars in income. But you got to create a culture for that. Yes, it's a plane ticket to go to the event, and it's 1 night or 2 nights in the hotel. And yes, we've got a new recruiting video coming out, and you need to buy 100 copies of that DVD. And we've got a new product catalog out, and you need to get 100 of those product catalogs and start circulating them into the universe. You create the culture where people know, yeah, of course you're not making money when you start off, but you're investing in your future. And finally, number 10 on the list is create a culture of fun. Art Jonak probably does this as good as anybody in the business. Urian Saleh's another one. I've worked with his teams in Norway. I've done a lot of events for them. Art does that. Every event he does, I mean, he builds the fun into it. You got to celebrate the successes of people. I would tell you, every time I do a major event now, I always have a Saturday night party. And we've done 50s sock hops, and we've done dress 70s bell bottom. We've come dressed as your favorite superhero. We've done a thing, come whoever makes the best costume based on the product line. And there's people, again, as going back to that earlier story about people who come for the cookies or come for the camaraderie. You create a fun atmosphere where people just want to be a part of that. And because they have fun, they hang around. And because they hang around, they learn and they grow. And because they learn and they grow, they ultimately are still there long enough to reach the success that they really want to get. So those are the 10 areas. I think it'll really behoove you to do some critical thinking on this. This is one of those chapters that you should come back and you should mark as a favorite, and you should probably review this once a month. By the time you get to the leadership levels, just at the start of every month, say, hey, let me go back and watch the culture chapter again and see how am I doing in all those areas. What's the one that I probably need to focus on this month, because I think our culture is a little lacking in that area, and this is what we're going to work on for the month of March or the month of September. As a leader, that's the intention I'm going to create as we work on that culture.